This video is going to be about my favorite books of 2022. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Aisha. Actually, on this channel we talk about books, I do vlogs as well, and sometimes I talk about skincare. In 2022 I read 80 books. 2022 was my favorite reading year so far. I'm so glad I experienced 2022 and I hope 2023 would also be the same. So my favorite book of 2022, like all time, is The Mountain Sing by Nui Fan Kui Mai. I feel like I've spoken about this book so much that I can never stop talking about this book. Anyway, so this book is a multi-generational tale set in Vietnam during the American invasion as well as the Japanese invasion, I think. But it features two main characters, a woman who is a grandmother and a granddaughter, and they are just telling the stories from alternate perspective. This is one of my favorite books because, you know, even though it centers around war, it takes the readers on so many different emotions. I cried a lot. I even saw some of the characters fall in love. That was very swoony. I laughed a lot as well because some of the characters had very good sense of humor. But also I liked how the book showcased the power of, you know, like the human emotion. Like human beings have the ability to be kind even during times like, you know, war periods. And the book captivated me from the very first page to the very last page, and I think that's why it was my favorite book of 2022. The author also has a new book coming out this year which is called Just Child, also by Nui Fan Kui Mai, and this book centers around, you know, the story of like children that were born to Vietnamese women and American soldiers, you know, their life story, the kind of discrimination that they faced. But yeah, I'm very excited to read this book. And yeah, my next favorite book of 2022, well, this comes in a pair. I decided to just make them a pair. They were written by the same author, and I have done like separate book review videos for this book, so I feel like it's a given at this point. So these books are What White People Can Do Next and Don't Touch My Hair by Emma Dabiri. Yeah, just watch my review videos on these books. I really enjoy them. They're both non-fiction and they center, you know, around race, class, just social isms generally. Just very, very good arguments. If you're looking for fresh arguments on this set topics, definitely try out these books. My next favorite book is The Queue by Basma Abdelaziz. I wrote a full-length review for this book because of how much I love this book. It's a very short book. It's just a little over 200 pages, and it is set in an unnamed fictional country in the Middle East, and it centers a main character whose name is Yakub, I believe. I think his name is Yakub. I can't believe I can't remember the name of this guy. But basically it's just talking about like the ills of living in an authoritarian regime, how it messes with your psyche so much that you are facilitating your own oppression without even realizing that you're facilitating your own oppression. I really enjoyed this book, and I think everybody should read this book because it has such poignant, well-crafted commentary on these things. And it just also teaches the fact that all it takes to take down an oppressive regime is just people banding together and using their sheer force of, you know, numbers. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. My next favorite book of 2022 is Tomorrow I Become a Woman by Awanose Odafen. I really enjoyed this book. This book is set in Nigeria. It's very fast-paced, and it just talks about the many layers of like misogyny, societal ingrained misogynistic practices that women face, and how women react to these practices. So like there are so many different variations of like ways that women react to these practices. I read this book on my Instagram, so you know, check that out. If you don't follow me already on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. But I really like this book. It's very, very fast paced. If you're looking for something that is very fast paced, that talks about like women issues and it sets in like different timelines, you know, in a country like Nigeria, definitely check this one out. One of the main subplots of this book is you know, the Biafra War, like the aftermath of the Biafra War. I like how it explores the complexities of that, and it features like different ethnic groups in Nigeria. Everybody got their airtime, like the major group anyway. When I say I enjoyed it, I don't mean like I enjoyed the theme of the book. The theme of the book was very, very anger inducing. I was so angry reading this book, but I enjoyed like the writing, the whole concept of the book. It's a very good book, but it's just very heavy to read through. My next favorite book of 2022 is My Pen is the Wing of a Bird, new fiction by Afghan women, edited by Lycée Doset. So this is a collection of short stories written by unpublished Afghan women writers living inside Afghanistan, and they have written this book in their own mother tongue. So some of them wrote the stories in Pashto, some of them wrote it in Dari, and then the book was translated into English for us to, read. I like this book because they are just like fresh stories from Afghan women, the women that are in the front line of what is happening in Afghanistan. They can tell their stories best. Some of these authors chose not to talk about war. Some of them chose not to even talk about anything that is related to Taliban, and I liked that because they got the creative freedom to be able to tell their own stories however they want to share it. I prefer this to like reading books by Khalid Hosseini. If you're looking for like authentic Afghan narration, especially like by Afghan women, considering the recent times and what's currently happening in Afghanistan, definitely pick this one up because you're supporting these women that are currently living in Afghanistan. So yeah. My next favorite book of 2022 is The Mama of Peace by Sofia Segovia. This is a translated fiction and I really enjoyed it. It's a multi-generational tale. Some parts of it were set during the Spanish flu and some part of it was set like later in the future. It has a little bit of magical realism, and at the core of this book it shows how classism and other form of like elitist isms forces out the evil in people. That's like the major center of the story. But then we have this amazing character whose name is Simonopio. It's just brilliant. It's like the character that embodies the magical realism aspect of this book. So if you're looking for something that is multi-generational with beautiful lyrical writing, also translated fiction written by a woman that examines subtly, social isms like classism, definitely pick this one up. It's a bit sad though. I cried a lot. My next favorite book of 2022 is Elena Knows by Claudia Pinheiro. This book was also translated and it was on the International Booker Prize list for last year, 2022. This book is very small, but I love how layered it is. This book centers a main character, Elena. She's a woman in her 60s and she's suffering from Parkinson's syndrome, and the story kind of walks around the timeline of where she takes her medication. But through that very short timeline, you get to witness like very heavy mother-daughter relationship, ableism and ageism, how that mixes up together with like misogyny to really, really affect these women. And we also get to like examine the ills of like abortion bans and like forcing women to have children, and how some other women are like indoctrinated by like the religious aspect of the abortion ban, and because of that they don't see the ill in them forcing other women to have children. This is a very small book that packs a punch, and these are the kind of books that I like dazzle me in very short pages. I'll take it anytime and day. So this next book, they're like, it's a trilogy. Actually, it's going to be like, I think a fourth book is coming out very soon. Yeah, I think a fourth book is coming out this year. But yeah, for now, I'm going to say it's a trilogy. So this is the Front Desk series by Kelly Yang, and I read 3 books in the series this year, and I'm packing them together. So the first book in the series is Front Desk, the second book in the series is 3 Keys, and the third book in the series is Room to Dream. This book centers the experience of Mia, a young girl that migrated with her family from China to America, and through each of the books you get to just like witness her experiences, and Kelly Yang introduces young readers to very interesting and like heavy topics in our society, but in a very mild way, so like they can learn lessons from them but still enjoy the book and like understand to some extent the gravity of the issues. So for example, one of the books like discussed gentrification, one of the books discussed the immigration laws in America. I'm not really like familiar with immigration laws, but one of them discussed that. And the last book, Room to Dream, especially focuses on the kind of dissonance that Mia came to face when she had to like go back to visit her family in China, and she wasn't feeling, you know, American enough or Chinese enough. I really liked that this book explored that, and it's a very fast-paced book, and I love children narrators. So my next favorite book is The First Woman by Jennifer Nasubuga Makumbi. I really enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed the book. If you're looking for a book set in an African country that has multi-generational tale and is very feminist, you know, feminism that is devoid of like white feminist-ish, definitely try this book out. My favorite thing about The First Woman is that it focuses on Uganda's brand of feminism, which was very good. I really enjoyed this book. It's also very nuanced. Like Tomorrow I Become a Woman, it shows how different women react to patriarchy and like misogyny very differently. The First Woman's amazing book. It did have a very slow start. Like the first couple of pages were quite slow, but it's a very good book. It's very rewarding. My next favorite book of 2022 is We Oigas Have No Say, essays by Ilham Tohti. I really enjoyed this book because it gave me more insight into the Oigas struggle. And this book is a collection of like essays and articles written by Ilham Tohti, who is a prominent Oiga thinker. He was imprisoned by the Han-Chinese government in 2013, 2014, I believe. And what he was imprisoned for was, according to them, separatist views. And by reading this book, I realized that's like far from the truth. This man was just encouraging the Han-Chinese government to give Uyghurs and other ethnic minority groups in China their rights according to the constitution that was, you know, created at the initial formation of like China, like the old Republic of China, with all the minority groups, you know, and I think that includes like Tibetans as well. So that was like his major teaching. And throughout like the essays, I realized that this man vehemently refused to be called a political activist. He just wanted to be acknowledged for his scholarly, you know, views, his scientific thinking. He also encouraged like, you know, pan-Asian like ideas. And I just thought this was very interesting. I really enjoyed this book, and I wish Ilham Tohti is wherever he is, you know, his family. I really wish them ease. And yeah, my next favorite book of 2022 is Cast Bunny by Boya Chong. Like, this is a given. So this book is a collection of short stories with horror-esque overall theme. I really enjoyed the short story collection. The reason why I enjoyed this story so much is I wasn't expecting anything from them, and it just blew me away. Like, I really enjoyed the book. I enjoyed the book. My next favorite book of 2022 is Dreaming at the River School by Sabine Adeyinka. This is a middle grade book set in Nigeria, and it focuses on a young girl called Jumoke as she attends a prestigious secondary school in Nigeria called the River School. And she and her friends in school tried to help one of our other friends called Carol. This book is very funny. It explores like social, you know, issues as well, in a very subtle, child-friendly way. I liked that very much. I believe the book has a new sequel coming out. I can't remember the title of the sequel, but I'll put a picture on the screen. My next favorite book of 2022 is Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Imide. I had a reading vlog for this book early 2022, so do check that out. I really enjoyed this book. Everyone forced me to read this book, and I'm glad I read it. It dazzled me. It dazzled me. This is kind of like a young adult mystery, dark academia kind of book, and it has racial themes as well. So yeah, it has like a lot of Get Out vibes. Like, it has Get Out vibes. I really enjoyed this book. My next favorite book of 2022 is Halal Loves by Omar Suleiman. This is a collection of attributes that Allah loves, and Omar Suleiman uses like verses of the Quran and like hadiths to explain like why Allah loves this attribute and like encourages us to imbibe that attribute. I really like this book. Actually, any book that Omar Suleiman writes, I love it, so that's a given. My last favorite book of the year is Love in Color by Bolu Babalola. I've spoken about this book way too many times. It's actually ridiculous at this point. This is a collection of short stories that are like retellings of folklore from different parts of the non-Western world. The first story in the collection is a bit slow, but generally I really enjoyed this short story collection, and I'm looking forward to reading Bolu Babalola's latest book. Honorable mention, I'm just going to mention one because so this honorable mention is Against the Loveless World by Susan Abdul Hawa. This book was supposed to be on my list of 2022's favorites, but I came across an interesting fact about the author which just ruined the whole experience for me. She's pro Assad. Assad is like the Syrian president, and I find that problematic. Like, if you are pro-Palestinian, you should not be pro-oppression in another person's land. So that's why I took the book off my favorite list of 2022. But yeah, it was a very good book. I cannot even lie about that. It was a very good book, but I just wasn't comfortable putting it on my favorite list of 2022. But yeah, those are all my favorite books of 2022. Nice mix. We have variety everywhere, even though many of them were written by women, but you know, we stand. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video, inshallah. Bye. Okay, I'm done.